Good afternoon and welcome to the Christ in Business Conference 2012. My name is David Tonin. I am your host and presenter for this afternoon's session on August the 14th, 2012. And I just want to say right off the start, I want to thank Michael G. Holmes for this opportunity to participate in this conference. I think it's a fantastic idea, and it is my sincere hope that all of you who are going to watch this, that you'll gain a little bit of benefit from my experience and my education and training that might in some way help your business setting and your entrepreneurial adventure as you are traveling it with God and with the team of people that are around you and supporting you. So let's enjoy this little journey. I'll try to help pour some of my experience into your life so that it'll make a little bit of difference where you're at. I am the marketing navigator at ministrystory.com. I have a degree in marketing, and I've done 20 years in the corporate world where I spent most of my time working for publishing companies and did a variety of sales and marketing type positions within those companies over the 20-year span. But like many entrepreneurs, I was becoming increasingly dissatisfied with my corporate experience. And about 2 years ago, God opened up an opportunity for me to walk away from corporate life and take this really big leap of faith, this step of fear. It was a step of fear for me, and walk out of corporate life and move into starting my own business. But I'll tell you this much. It has been the best career decision I have made, and that I hope will be a word of encouragement to you. Before I left the corporate world, I was part of, in 2005, my wife and I were part of a church planting team that started a church completely from scratch in a suburb of Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. And I'm not a pastor, I don't have ministry training, but we were part of the team to help get that started, and there was just a small team of 6 that started that adventure, and the core purpose behind it was really to just reach into the community to people who weren't already going to church, who didn't have a relationship with God and really had little or no interest in church, and try to connect with them and help introduce them to God. And it has been an amazing ministry experience for us, and we're still involved in that in a leadership capacity here 7 years later. Now, 2 years ago, in 2010, I started ministrystory.com, and the main purpose of the business is to work with churches first and foremost, because I think the church has the greatest story on the planet to tell, the story of Jesus. But churches just have a tendency to really struggle in this area, and they don't do a great job at it. And so I just felt God calling me to use my marketing experience to help pastors and church leaders to help them communicate better. And sort of a side effect of that has been to work with entrepreneurs, to work with small business owners who are Christians, to help them be more successful in communicating and connecting with their area of passion so that they can serve God through their businesses. And so that's really what Ministry Story is all about. Integrity Magazine is a project that I became involved in about a year ago, and they did a feature story on my transition out of the corporate marketplace into entrepreneurship and sort of that journey of faith that I went through. And so if you want to read that, you can find that online at integritymagazine.ca. What is marketing? When I ask most church leaders, when I ask most business people, what's marketing? The response I get most often is that it's advertising. And you know what? You're partially right. Advertising really is just the manifestation of a whole series of processes that go on before you actually see that final printed ad piece or that TV ad, radio ad, the website, whatever it is that you see. That's the tangible outflow, the manifestation of a whole massive process that goes on beforehand in developing it. And really what it is marketing is a discipline of communicating. And if you really want to get down to the clear simplicity of it, marketing simply is telling your story. And I'm not the first one to come up with that concept. And really, Seth Godin sort of paved the way for using the whole terminology of story. And now you see it all over the place with relation to marketing and communication, because it's a simple way for people to understand. And if you look at it, from a macro standpoint, really all really good marketing is connected to a story because people resonate with story. I did a degree in marketing 4 years in a university, and only 1 semester was dedicated to advertising. And so I'm really on sort of a educational crusade, if you would, to make sure people understand that marketing is so much more than advertising. I did 1 semester course in advertising, but over the 4 years I had courses in strategy, in branding, in research. Outreach is what I call advertising, or advertising is what I call outreach. It's about targeting. And today in 2012, and going forward, a big piece of it is websites and social media. And then the final component that many organizations and many small business owners really neglect is the whole assessment side of things. What is it that we're doing that is working? Is what we're doing actually working when we look in this sort of spectrum or umbrella of all the different components of marketing? Is it working? And because if it isn't working, then what do we need to tweak to make it work? Or what do we need to do to just stop doing things that aren't working and start trying something new that might work? And so this picture here really is intended to give you the impression or the understanding that as an umbrella is a whole series of webs and ribbings and a whole series of fabric that is all weaved together, that without one of these, the thing doesn't look like an umbrella anymore, it doesn't function like an umbrella anymore, and it's essentially useless. And the more of these that are missing, so if you only had the outreach piece, that one little piece of that umbrella, your umbrella would be totally useless. And in true perfect marketing or good storytelling, if you just have the advertising, it's going to really fall short because it's going to be incomplete. John Jantsch has a good definition that I like, and his definition is that marketing, and I think he also refers to it as branding, is the art, and I would include the science of becoming knowable, likable, and trustable. The art of becoming knowable, likable, and trustable. And the reason I add science in there is because marketing isn't just all airy-fairy stuff. There is a lot of science to marketing. There's a lot in that analytics side of things that you really can measure, and that you really, there are principles in place that if you do certain things, they will yield certain results. And so there is more, it's more than an art. It very much is a science. But it really comes down to those 3 things. And your story is a huge part of that, right? Is how people get to know, like, and trust you is through your story. And your story is very much connected to your passions or what your calling is. And, when you kind of sit back as an entrepreneur and you look at your life and you look at what you're trying to do, I guess you need to ask yourself, is this question: what is the one thing that I must do? What is that real burning passion within you that you feel, why isn't anybody doing this? Or why isn't it being done this way? Or why aren't people looking after this product or service? And so all of it really comes down to what your passion and calling is, and it kind of draws from your history, from your education, from your life experience, your work experience, your family experience, and very much so from your God experience, and draws all of those components together into what is your story. And only you can tell your story. And only you can tell your story with the same level of passion and enthusiasm. Other people could try to tell your story, but they will never tell it with the passion and influence that you can bring to your story when you're telling it. So it's your story, you can tell it, and you need to learn how to tell it really well. Because people buy from people they connect with. From my own personal experience, there's been several clients early on, and after the fact, I said, when you went through the whole procurement process and you were looking at different web companies or marketing companies to work with, why in the end did you end up choosing mine? Why did you end up working with ministrystory.com? And you know what? The answer I got every single time was because of you. Because of your passion, because of your commitment, because of your integrity. They hired the company because of me. And the same thing would happen with you. Now, the reality is not everybody resonates or connects with my story. Not everybody appreciates the spiritual component that happens with my business. And they may not appreciate the spiritual component that happens with you or your business. But the reality and the truth of it is that makes you unique, and that makes you the way God intended you to be and the way God intended your business to be. And so your story will resonate with some people, it will not resonate with others. But the whole idea in marketing is that you're not trying to reach everybody anyway. You're trying to reach or connect with people who are going to be very receptive of your story and your way of doing business, or your way of selling product, or your way of providing a service. Your story, of all the things you could do, your story is the biggest difference maker that you have at your disposal. So the better you get at crafting it, and I think there's a few sessions coming up in this conference that are going to even go deeper at that, but the better you get at crafting your story clearly and in a concise and very enthusiastic and energetic way, that is really what's going to be your biggest difference maker. And you know what? As a Christian business person, your God story is a really huge component of how you do business. Because God changed your life, and he changed it for a reason. And you have seen the change that God has brought in your life, in the way you interact with people, in the way you serve in your church, in the way you do ministry, the way you help out with poor, the way you've done missions. There's all kinds of components that you've seen the way God's worked in your own personal life and in and through your business. And so if you really put him first in your life and put him first in your business, that will make, a huge part of that difference in that uniqueness of your business. And your business will be totally and truly unique. It will be uniquely you, and it'll have the fingerprints of God on your business in the way he's got his fingerprints on you in your life. And you know what? Like I said, not everybody will respect you for your spirituality, but they will respect you for the fact that you stand for something and that you stand for who you are. You're not trying to be something you're not. Just be who you are. Be who God created you to be. And then you know what's going to happen? The rest will take care of itself, because people will see you as being unique and being genuine, and that's important. And you know what? At the end of the day, lots of people will argue religion, lots of people will argue doctrine, lots of people will argue denominations, and people will argue whether God exists or does not exist. But you know what they cannot argue with is your personal testimony or your personal story of what God has done in your life, in your family, and in your business. And the more you work at trying to concisely capture that so that you can share it when God gives you the opportunity. You're not going to necessarily be an evangelist in your business, standing outside the door of your office, preaching to everybody that walks by or any potential client. But you are God's representative. And when God gives you the opportunity to represent him, to speak on his behalf, this is your opportunity, and this is your primary weapon. The story that God has embedded in your life and in your business. That is your thing, and nobody can argue with it. Nobody will be able to argue what God has done in your life. They can't disprove it, and they can't disprove the passion and the enthusiasm you share it with. So that's very, very important. Your business ultimately is God's business. And you know what? At the end of the day, if you are getting closer and closer to God, your business is ministry. Your business is your ministry, and your business is what you are all about doing. And so, for years I tried to separate corporate life and personal life. My time in the office and my time in church, or my private time with prayer or Bible reading or doing missions work, whatever it was I was trying to do, I tried to keep a very fine dividing line, a solid dividing line between the two. And you know what? You can't. You just can't, because if you are growing and maturing as a believer and you're getting deeper in your relationship with God, you cannot separate the two, and nor should you. Be who you are. Your business is your ministry. If you put God first, your business will be a success both financially and in impacting ways that will change the world. Your story built into your whole business, into your marketing, your communications, and who you are will change the world, because you have an opportunity to change the lives of people you're working with. You have a chance to represent God in every circumstance. celebrating in highs and being a voice of spiritual reason in the lows. And you know what? The financial success of your business gives you the opportunity to fund ministry, whether it's funding the ministry in your local church or whether it's doing missions outreach like our church does in Honduras. One of the things that gives me as a business owner the greatest thrill is to be able to take a portion of my income and pour it back into ministry so that I can change lives, so I can be a part of changing lives. And that is really what God's put you in your business for, I believe. That's what he's put me in my business for, is to represent him in the way I act and the way I do business, and to be his representative in the way I use the outflow or the blessing in the business, the way I use that to help him do ministry, help churches and ministries do ministry by contributing financially. It's a huge rush for me when I have an opportunity to be there. And I really, really, truly hope that you'll experience that. You get a chance to go places where your pastor never, ever can go. You get to build relationships with business people and have credibility because of your experience and because of the way you do business. And people will see how good you are at what you do. And that then gives you a voice or gives you a platform for which to represent God. Your pastor will always be a religious guy or gal. They will never have the respect of your colleagues or your clients the way you do. And so please take this seriously. It is very, very, very important. Now, I've come up with this STORY acronym. And essentially, I'm going to go through this very quickly because essentially each one of these is a seminar in and of itself. And this is just the plan or the process that I take clients through when I am building a marketing or communications plan for their church or for their business, is we use this STORY process. And the first part of it is strategy, the plan, and then we work down. So we go down to the bottom one and we work our way up. Defining who you are, doing some research, going through the outreach, and then looking at the technology and the assessment. So the strategy essentially is the whole story, the whole umbrella, and the pieces of it are all about you, the research, and the outreach and the technology. Let's walk through this so I can give you, what I decided to do is give you some questions that you can take as takeaways to look at and ask yourself these questions with regard to your business and see how you would best answer them. And this is not a 5-minute process, I realize, but I think that these are good questions that will help you as a takeaway to sort of start reflecting on your business and how you do business where you're at in your community. Strategy first. And this is the marketing strategy. So it essentially is a marketing plan that helps you clearly answer the following questions. Who am I or who are we as a business? Who is our target audience or audiences? But first and foremost, what is the primary target audience that we're trying to reach with our product or service? Very important. What are their needs? How will we speak to them? How will we communicate? What are the tools we'll use? And how will we measure? So that's the overarching, that whole umbrella thing that I was talking about, all come through in these pieces. Now we start with the first one, the why in the story, which is you. And this is really what, in marketing terms, is really all about the branding, identifying the branding, who you are. So who are we as an organization, or who am I as a small business owner or an entrepreneur? What is my culture? Or what is unique about me? What is it that I'm all about that is different from other companies that provide the similar type of product or service? Who am I or who are we trying to reach? So who is our target clientele? Who is the optimum person we're trying to reach out to? If we could only reach out to one demographic or one segment of the market, what is that segment? Then what are our resources? What do we have at our disposal? Time, finances, employees, those types of things. What are the resources we have to work with to actually reach out and let them know what we do? What do we offer them? So what really is our product? And this is actually really, really hard for most business owners to answer, or even for churches, is what is our core offer? What is our core product? And quite often, especially in service-based industries, I find small business owners want to try to be everything to everybody. But I need you to step back for a minute and kind of think through a little bit, what is my thing? What is the one thing that we do really well, better than everybody else? And then how do we now go about engaging them? How do we connect with people to tell them what is our one thing? Research, market research, huge piece. This is something that a lot of people just, it gets statistical. It's hard because you think in your head that you know who your target audience is, but you know what? Writing it down and writing all these things down are really, really tough. Who is my target audience? Again, that one demographic that we're trying to reach out to, that one segment. Where are they physically, geographically? Where are they? What are their needs? Now, this is huge. I mean, you may have a great service and you think, okay, this is exactly what people need. But do you really know for sure? Like, have you done the research to find out that this is something that people are saying, yeah, we really need that. And that would solve a problem we have. So what is their problem that you can now solve with your product or service? How can we meet those needs? So how are you solving the needs that they have? And then very important, how do we talk to them? Do we talk to them through doing a mail out? Do we talk to them through the web? Do we talk to them through social media? Is it radio ads, TV ads, newspaper, postcards, flyers? What are the ways that we can talk to them that they'll actually hear the message that we're trying to get across? Outreach. This is the advertising. Connecting with that target audience once you've defined it. Where are they? Again, that physical, where are they? When are they there? So is it something that is community-based or service-based? If you're running a retail outlet, when are most people that are in your target audience coming to the mall or going to that particular area of town? How can you then make your place of business a stop in their plan of their agenda for the day? What tools am I going to use? Again, the electronic tools or the print tools. What are the different things that I can use to best communicate my message? And what will we say in these outreach events or outreach tools? What will we say so that they notice us? So that we don't just blend in with everybody else that does the same product or service that we offer. What can we say that demonstrates that we really understand their needs, that we really have a solution for them, and that this is it, and it comes across with that genuineness. And technology is huge, but often people want to start with the technology right out of the gate before identifying who you are and who your target clientele is, and do the research and try to have a clear understanding of what your business is all about. You just want to dive in and do the technology. And I know that reactive desire, but if you wait and do the technology after you've done all these other assessments, what happens is you craft a web tool or a web resource that more accurately communicates visually and through the wording and through the video you put in there and the images you use. It's just much more effective if you really have gone through those previous steps. It's very important to have your website be your communications hub, no matter what other outreaches you do, whether you're using Twitter or Facebook, or whether you're using print materials or a radio ad. You only have a very short piece of the attention span of the people you're trying to target. But if you can capture them and drive them back to your website, then this is the place where you have their captive attention, and you can now be who you are and fully explain what it is you do to make life better for them, so that they can get through that, getting to know you in your website, getting to like what they see, and then getting to trust that, yeah, you know what, this guy or this company is who he says he is, and I like what I see, and I think I will trust him to give him my business or explore further whether I might like to have that initial dialogue. So your web is that communications hub that completes all that sort of beehive or all that spoked out outreach or advertising that you're going to do. It all has to focus back in on a very, very succinct and very masterfully designed website. It doesn't have to cost you tens of thousands of dollars. Don't hear me saying that. It just, if you have gone through the process of thinking it through, you will have a great opportunity to have a very solid web base that will communicate for you. It's important to use all your SEO tools and really do and be Google's friend. I could spend an hour talking just about Google. Social media, very important. You can't ignore today Facebook. You still today cannot ignore email. You need to be building email lists. Blogging is helpful. Podcasting is helpful. Again, is it something that your target audience would resonate with? You have to ask those questions before you start doing it. Leveraging YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, and whatever the next thing is. The reality is you can't ignore social media. And you know what? Going forward, and again, another whole seminar could be just the whole aspect of the importance of mobile technology, the smartphone and the iPads and those types of devices. That is where computing is going. It's going away from the desktop, and people are interacting with you and your website and your materials through mobile devices. And you have to start thinking through that strategy and those tools connected with your website as well. So again, strategy encompasses the whole plan. You, who you are, research on who they are, outreach about the advertising and the promotion and the communications, and then the technology tools. So that's a lot. I just shot an entire fire hose of information and blasted a bunch of questions at you there. But my slides are available on SlideShare, and I really encourage you to go back and start asking yourself and having dialogue with your business partners if you have them, or even advisors that you have in your circle of influence. Start asking them to walk through some of these questions with you. It's very, very, very important. The main reason you need a strategic communications plan is so that you can have greater effectiveness, so you can be clearer and more consistent in the way you communicate. As a result of having a plan, you will have greater impact. You'll reach more people in a more targeted way. Your materials will have a greater level of excellence so that you'll represent yourself and your business really well. You'll be a really good stewardship of your resources, both your people resources and your dollars, if you have a plan to figure out what you're doing and when you're doing it. And you know what? Most importantly, every client I've worked with that we've done a plan for, they ultimately say that having a strategic communications plan or a marketing plan reduces the stress on them as an individual and on their organization. So there's greater harmony and unity. There's not the chaotic sort of last minute running around. Oh my goodness, we have to get this out. Christmas is coming. It's, in 3 weeks, and then you pay more than you need to for your advertising. You haven't thought it through. You haven't done all the development with it. You're just shooting something out because you're under a time crunch. And that is stressful, and it isn't a good stewardship model for you and your resources for a business that's focused on Jesus Christ. So the harmony and reducing the stress thing is a huge and massive positive outflow of having the plan. To sort of wrap it up, I wanted to give you a couple resources here. And these are things that I have just recently read. The book Story Branding is very much, it's not a spiritual book necessarily. I don't even know about the author. In fact, I have plans on interviewing him, however, for an upcoming podcast. But his book is very, very good and gives you a lot of practical ways to actually think through the story and the branding, the marketing of your business. Recently, I just happened to be reading Jeremiah. And I think, as a Christian, you have to be spending time in the Bible. So I just happen to be in Jeremiah right now. And it's a heavy book with a lot of with God asking the people of Israel a lot of hard questions through the prophet Jeremiah. But you know what? It really, for me personally, is a call back to what am I committed to in my relationship with God? And this just happens to be happening at the same time as I'm reading the book Crazy Love by Francis Chan. And you know what? I realize I'm behind the curve. This book's been out for a couple of years. But if you have not read this book, I would highly encourage you to read it. Not because it's Francis Chan, but because the principles in here will drive you to a much more excited and much more personal relationship with Jesus as your Lord and Savior in everything you do. It will help you be fully committed, fully sold out. And so the combination of the Bible and and reading somebody's perspective, like Francis Chan's perspective. And if you start to implement even just a couple of the things that he talks about in this book, it will revolutionize your personal life, and it will absolutely revolutionize your business. The last resource is personal shameless self-promotion, but I do a podcast, and I haven't been doing it as regularly lately as I would like to be, but I'm picking it up this fall. And what it is the Ministry Story podcast, and it is intended primarily first and foremost with the church leader in mind, but there are lots of dialogues that happen in there where I'm interviewing. It's not just me. It's almost always an interview with somebody else who's doing something or using a tool in the marketing and communications realm that churches and Christian business leaders could use and apply to their setting. So I encourage you to go to ministrystory.com/podcast, subscribe through iTunes, and I'd welcome any feedback. I originally started it for the purpose of connecting with my clients and helping to educate them. But the nice outflow actually has been that the web is international, and I get feedback almost weekly from pastors and church leaders around the globe who say that a particular episode has helped them. So we're past 24 episodes, I think now, into the 20s anyway. And so I welcome you to go there and listen to some and download some. And if you have any suggestions for people I should be interviewing, let me know that too. I'd be glad to try to make that happen. So that is basically it. If you have questions, you can send them to me directly. Since we're no longer live as you're watching this, you can connect with me at my personal website, davidtonin.com. You can connect with me in my business/ministry website at ministrystory.com, through Twitter, through my podcast, or on Facebook. I love social media, and I would love to connect with you. I'd love to hear your story, and I'd love to be able to serve you if there was ever an opportunity to do so. So I hope that some of the questions and some of the resources that I've provided today will encourage you and help you implement some things and implement some change in your business. The last thing I will say that I meant to say earlier is that get some help if you get into this process and if you take this process seriously. Because I found it, even with myself, being a marketing guy, trying to get my own business together, I had to get help from an outside advisor. Because you get so inwardly focused and you're micromanaging everything in your business that it's really, really hard to step back at a very high level and look at your business and look at your ministry in a macro view and try to assess what it is you're doing and why you're doing it and who you're doing it for, and what that branding should look like, what that story should sound like, and how it should be crafted. And so you can do a lot of the things that I suggest by answering some of those questions, but I highly encourage you to get an advisor, whether it's somebody in your trusted sphere of influence or whether you have to hire somebody who is a marketing or communication strategist, just to help you with small pieces or larger pieces of this to make you more successful. I promise you, even just a few hours of you hiring somebody to do that will help transition your focus from a very narrow, me-focused thing to something much more macro, and it will make you more successful. So thanks again. I hope you enjoyed this session, and I hope you get a real wealth of knowledge out of the Christ in Business Conference this year, and we look forward to your feedback, and thank you for taking the time to invite me into your personal space to take in today's conference. I wish you the best, and my prayer is that you will represent Jesus well in your situation. Thank you.